And without further ado, in comes Paul Lambert. Paul, how are you doing today?
I'm okay. How are you?
Not too bad. Very, very excited and honored to have you here on Borussia Dortmund's Twitch to kind of relive some of your best memories that you had at Borussia Dortmund. So I like the kit you're wearing or the the jacket. It looks
Yes,
good.
yeah, it's good, huh? Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, yeah. So we're basically gonna go over your career a little bit. Obviously, touching on mostly Borussia Dortmund stuff, but I mean, you're Scottish international. Got a lot of very good accomplishments we have. So without further ado, let's just kind of get right into it. So the first question I
Okay.
have for you, Paul, is just kind of want to give a little background about your move to Borussia Dortmund and what it was like going through the process of selecting a club and looking to leave Scotland for the first time.
Oh, it's an interesting story that um, I was coming out of contract at Motherwell in 1996, I think it was,
Yeah.
and I wanted to try something new because I was one of the first ones in the Bosman ruling. I don't know if you're a bit young for that, the Bosman ruling, but it's,
Yeah.
it changed the face of the game. And I'd already played against Borussia Dortmund for Motherwell in the UEFA Cup 3 years earlier. And yeah, I played 2 games against them. And then an agent called me when I was coming out of contract at Motherwell and asked, would I like to play abroad? And I said, yeah, it'd be nice. But he never ever told me the, the two teams um, that I went. Anyway, to cut a long story short, uh, Motherwell were going to do a pre-season in England. And the agent told me, listen, pack a bag and meet me in Holland. And I never met this guy before. So I packed my bag, flew to Holland and met him. He never told me what teams that I was going to go to on trial. One was when I got in his car, he told me I was going to PSV Eindhoven
Yeah.
and Borussia Dortmund. So his advice at that time was to go to PSV Eindhoven, try there, see if it works. Never worked. I played 2 games for PSV Eindhoven and I scored 2 goals. But I played as a right winger and I was never quick like that. I was never a speedy winger. And the trial never worked out. And then he took me to Borussia Dortmund. And I met Mr. Meyer, Michael Meyer, there. And we discussed everything. And the contract was already agreed, only if I played well in the trial games. So he said the team are flying to Lubeck. I had to go and meet them, and I was in Dortmund at the time, and I never knew where Lubeck was. I couldn't speak German, didn't know where I was. Mother never knew where I was, and Walter Mass, who's still at the club now, he drove me to Lubeck, and it was one of the scariest car journeys I've ever had in my life. He flew in that autobahn, flew in the autobahn, and no English, Walter, me no German. It was an incredibly long journey. And I remember going to Lubeck and I remember seeing the plane flying in, the team plane. And I just saw a massive yellow and black at the airport. And I went, whoa, this is big time here. And the car took me on the tarmac and Otmar Hitzfeld and Michael Henke came off the bus and they said hello to me and good luck in the trial. And I went on the team bus and all of a sudden that's when it really dawned on me. I'm in big time football here. So some of the guys never wasn't on the bus because they played in Euro '96 Germany,
Mm.
and Otmar had gave some of them time off. But Andy Muller was there. Andy was there. Stefan
Yeah.
Kloss was there. I think Michael Zott was there. Um, I think, but some of the German players that won Euro '96 wasn't there. And I played against Lubeck. It was a little mini tournament and I played against Lubeck for 45 minutes. But Otmar played me in the centre of the midfield. And the second game was against Hamburg, and I played centre midfield. And the 2 games went really well. And Dortmund asked me to stay on for another competition. At that time, I think it was a Fuji Cup. It was Dortmund, Bayern,
Mm.
Mönchengladbach, and Schalke.
Yeah.
And we played Schalke in the semi-final, and then Bayern and Gladbach played in the other. And Schalke beat us 3-1. in that game, and then my second game was against Gladbach. But then Dortmund asked me to sign the season before, the Thursday before the season started against Leverkusen, and that's how I ended up at Borussia Dortmund. So 4 trial games later, then I signed, and that was it.
So you're telling me you were playing as a winger for PSV, scored 2 goals, and they didn't want to offer you a contract?
Yeah, because I wasn't that type of winger. I wasn't a quick winger like that. I was a centre midfielder.
Yeah.
And thankfully they never wanted me.
So you obviously grew up playing as always a kind of a box-to-box center mid then? You never play in any other positions, or were you pretty much always throughout your youth up to professional center midfielder?
No, I actually, when I was growing up, I actually started as a striker.
It's a striker.
As a centre forward in my boys' club days. And then I went to St Mirren, and I made my debut when I was 15 in St Mirren. And then I won my first medal with St Mirren when I was 17 in the Scottish Cup.
Yeah.
And I played centre midfield then, and basically that was me. So and then Dortmund, yeah, the whole career changed as soon as I signed there.
And so yeah, and that's something I was looking forward to asking you about, because you're obviously being from Scotland and talking about how you didn't quite understand the language right away. I was kind of seeing what were your thoughts about going to a brand new league, a brand new team, and then the biggest thing was a brand new language, because for a long time there, you didn't see a ton of North American players or English players coming over to the Bundesliga. But now on our team alone, you see Sancho, Bellingham, and Reina. So I wanted to see what your thoughts were back then in 1996 when you arrived there, and what the language barrier and the culture was kind of like.
Yeah, it was totally different what I expected. And I was never quite sure of the football, whether it was going to be a big difference. Was the speed going to be different? Was as you said there, the language going to be different? And obviously, and my first game against was Bayer Leverkusen, and Pablo had signed, I think, roughly in the same kind of time as me, but Pablo he had a problem with his knee, and Otmar Hitzfeld said to me, "Paul, if Pablo's no fit, then you play." So we went to Leverkusen. And I'll never forget it. It was a really hot day that day, really hot. And I played, and I remember Otmar saying to me, be careful of Paulo Sergio, who was a Brazilian player for Leverkusen at that time. And I had the ball, and I had the ball in front of me, and this guy appeared from nowhere. And I went, whoa, where's this guy come from? And that happened to me about 3 or 4 times in the first half. And I thought, I don't understand what the language, I don't know what man on is, what time is, what's right, what's left. And I scored just before half time to give me a little bit more confidence. And I get to half time. I remember saying to Andy Muller, "Andy, what's man on, what's time, what's right, what's left?" And he would say rechts, links, hinterman, vorne. He gave me the basics of the German language.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I need to learn the football language here first and foremost. And then we played Fortuna Düsseldorf on the Tuesday, and I had a really, really good game, and everything just went from there really, really well. But you're saying that Sancho and Bellingham and different nationalities now. There wasn't too many different nationalities when I was at Julio Cesar, Paulo Sousa, myself, Wolfgang Feiersinger was Austin. He knew the language. So I was in a predominantly German dressing room, and I thought, I'll need to learn the language here. And the more you get into the dressing room, I started to pick up a lot of things of the German language. But I think it was really important for me to learn the football language, as I call it. The football language was incredibly important for me to be successful.
Did you ever have to, because I saw watching the Borussia Dortmund documentary of seeing international players coming in and having to take basically German lessons to adapt it. Did you ever have to go through something like that? I know you said you kind of learned the basic German football talk, but did you ever have to sit down through like a class and try to learn the language itself?
Yeah, I went to a school thing way back in those days, and but it was very, very basic German. Fenster and Fernsehen, which is TV and window. and Tish was your table. That wasn't the thing. I needed to try and converse. Because I've seen the documentary as well when I saw, I think it was Vitchell and somebody else doing German lessons.
Paco, yeah.
That was it. Yeah, that was it. And I never had that. I had to learn through my teammates or just picking it up yourself. But as long as I had the football language, that was the most important.
Yep.
That was the most important thing.
I can see some people. I mean, you know what it's like being on a football pitch and screaming left and right. And if you're not doing your job, you're gonna hear about it. And if it's in a language you can't understand, that's never a good thing.
No. It was important. I had a really good dressing room. The dressing room was full of world-class players. It was a really, really strong team.
Nice. And I have a question for you that I think a lot of people are wondering. It's one of the ones that was probably most asked for you. But without having fans in the stadium right now, we obviously know what Dortmund's home is like and having all those supporters in there. What was your first reaction walking out for your first home game with Borussia Dortmund and seeing the yellow wall and seeing basically the atmosphere of that stadium?
Well, I played against it.
Oh, yeah.
I played against it for Motherwell. And I'll tell you a really true story. Motherwell played Dortmund, and obviously in Dortmund, and we lost 1-0. And I remember doing a cool down after the game with one of the Motherwell players. And the two of us were talking about the game. And we turned around and says, can you imagine playing in front of this crowd every week? What it's like? It must be unbelievable. 3 years later, I signed there. And all of a sudden, the reality, my first home game was Fortuna Düsseldorf. And it was like, whoa, this is proper. This is big time football. This isn't Motherwell, and it's totally different. The football for me just went like that. But the crowd, you know it as a yellow wall. I know it as a Sud Tribune. Was what when I was growing up.
Yeah.
There, that was like a magnet. So every time we attacked that yellow wall, as you call it, the yellow wall,
yeah,
I never ever felt we would lose. Ever lose there. Okay, I think we lost to Karlsruhe 3-1 at one game, but very, very rarely did we lose there. And the fans were the fans. I mean, that is incredible. That support is incredible. And unfortunately, I actually stood in there a few years ago. I went to watch the Dortmund team.
Yeah.
And I actually went into the yellow wall and stood in there and watched it because it's something I always wanted to do. And it was what an experience, but what a support to play in front of. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that was actually one of the questions I had for you. Is I heard in an interview that you were looking to get basically tickets to the yellow wall because you wanted to experience. So I wanted to get a little bit more about you getting your tickets, standing in the yellow wall. Did you get recognized at all, and did you know any of the songs? And kind of give me a little runaround of how that experience went for you.
Well, I went to watch Dortmund train, and Jurgen was the manager. Jurgen Klopp was the manager, and I think I watched Dortmund for about 9 days training, and Jurgen was the coach there, and it was the time Dortmund they played Cologne on the Saturday, and I think they were playing Juve on the Wednesday.
Okay.
And I think it was something like that. And me and my missus went into I phoned for tickets first and foremost, and Astrid Ketman, who's the secretary there, she got us 2 tickets, and she said, "Yeah, Paul, no problem, VIP." And I said, "No, I want them for the Sud Tribune." And so she went, "Oh, really?" I went, "Yeah, I want to go in there." And I remember having a conversation with Marco Reus.
Yeah.
He used to watch us when we played, and I said, "Well, I'm going to come and watch you play, but I'm going to go in the yellow wall." And so we got the tickets, and with the VIP hospitality for food before the game, the normal, and then we walked round the back of the stadium, stood right in the middle of the yellow wall, and I mean, it's just incredible. It's incredible, an incredible experience to go there and stand there and watch a game of football. But I had my hat on, I had my hat, glasses, so nobody really kind of knew that way. And but what an experience that was! That was incredible. You can't move; it's impossible to move. So if for anybody out there and you want to go in there and watch a game, go to the toilet before because there's nowhere to go because you can't move. It's fabulous, fantastic.
That's so cool because I went to a game, luckily enough, once made the trip from Canada on over to Germany, and we went to watch a game, but we were nowhere near the yellow wall, and I was pretty much directly across from it, and watching those 20,000 people jumping up and down for the entire match, and yeah, it was absolutely insane. So that's definitely gonna be a little bit of advice. I'll definitely go to the bathroom before I make my way into that wall.
100%. Because you ain't moving for 90 minutes. You ain't moving. It's an incredible experience. And I'll do it again. I'll go and do it again. I want to go and do it again. Yeah.
I can imagine the sound is what I always kind of wanted to know, because it was loud where I was sitting, but it sounded like another level over on that side of the arena. It's
a really strange thing when you're in there, because when you're in there, you can't see what the yellow wall's doing. But if you looked at from one of the stands, and it jumps. I mean, you've seen it jumping, haven't you?
Yeah.
Just bounce, and you think, wow, this is incredible. But the biggest thing I found about Dortmund was the colour, the yellow and black.
Yep.
Everybody wears it. Everybody in that stadium was yellow, black, and that's one of the big things that stood out for me was the colour.
And we're yellow black right now, Paul. It's all about.
That's it.
It's all about the love. I said we're yellow black right now. It's all about the love of the club.
That's it.
But yeah. So it's time to get into the big accomplishment, Paul, that you had here, and that was the Champions League win, for the first ever Champions League victory here for Borussia Dortmund. So to lead up to it, let's kind of go through the path, and I kind of want to hear about your experience through the 2 legs you guys played against Manchester United, and what it was like taking on a team like that, and obviously being victorious.
It's a question I get asked quite a lot, that when people said you went into the tie against Manchester United, maybe no favourites, but I couldn't understand that, because when I looked at the team that I played with, this was incredible. Sam, Arcola, Cesar, Reuter, Heinrich, Mola, Sosa, Zorc, Shapi, Karolida, Lars Ricken, all international players. So I knew that it had to be an incredible team to beat us. I just felt we were really, really strong. And the first game at Dortmund against United, we had a few injuries at that time to really big players, a few injuries. And but the atmosphere still drove us, still helped us that day. And if you look at the goal, Rennie Treshock scores a goal. If you look at that goal really closely, Paulo Sousa drives with the ball, and Rennie takes it off Paulo, and you see Paulo going like this, and then Rennie shoots, and I think it hits Gary Pallister's laces on his boots, just run about there, and the ball does this, and it really goes right over the goalkeeper. And after the game, we won 1-0, and I remember in the dressing room, the lads' feeling was, if we score 1 goal at Manchester, the tie's finished, the game is over. And Lars scores really early and at Old Trafford, and it meant Manchester United had to win three goals. And I didn't think they were ever going to do that against us because of the team we were. But so that was my overriding memory of the semi-final. I just thought we were a really good side.
Well, you clearly were, as you took down Manchester United, but then you had an even bigger task ahead of you in a one-off against Juve. What was your thought going into that match? As you guys were, from what I read, because I was one at the time, you guys were clear underdogs in that game, and some of those players on that Juve team were incredible. So what were your thoughts going up to that game as you were approaching as heavy underdogs in that match?
Well, we played Hamburg I think we played Hamburg on a Saturday, and Otmar told me I was going to go on the bench against Hamburg. He told me the night before the game. He said, "But I'm going to you play on Wednesday against Juve," and I said, "Okay, no problem." And we lost. I think we lost 2-0 to Hamburg on the Saturday before the final. But I think everybody was really focused on the final. And I remember going to Munich, flying to Munich, and we trained on the pitch the night before the game. And I just remember the Olympic Stadium. The field was like a carpet. It was incredible condition, really incredible. And Otmar came up to me the night before the game, and he says, Paul, if you get the ball, look for the diagonal pass, because he didn't think they were strong in the back post area. And I remember waking up, long day, the day, and then it was ready, the team was ready to go. We knew the team, and we had a guy there at the training ground called Manny, and Manny helped everybody with the football boots, with the meal, maybe making coffee for you in the morning. And Manny was at the bus and he was smoking, you know.
Yeah.
and he says, Paul, how are you feeling? And I said, Manny, I'm ready for this. We're ready. And I went, how are you? And he went, Paul, I'm nervous. I'm nervous. As soon as he said he's nervous, I just went, whoa. I went, if he's nervous, then everybody else must be nervous. And I went on the team bus, and I always sat beside Stefan Kloss. And the bus was really, really quiet, really quiet. And Stefan, I looked at Stefan's leg under the table, and his leg's going up and down, you know, it's going like this, his leg. I went, are you okay? He went, yeah. He said, but the bus was really quiet. He said, but everybody's the same, it's really quiet. But when we arrived in the Olympic Stadium, the bus parked underneath, and we came out on the running track to go back into the dressing room. And that stadium was nearly full by the time we got to that stadium. Half yellow, black, half black and white. And the atmosphere was unbelievable. But again, I think we were so confident of winning. Even though Juve had Zidane, Di Livio, Bossi, Del Piero, Christian Vieri, Deschamps, they were unbelievable side. But I always think that they had to be a really, really top side to beat us. I said to you before, Riedler, Schaffhauser, Müller, Sammer, Kohler, Reuter, big players themselves. I just felt we were so good. So
you think I don't know, because I was gonna ask you if being the underdog kind of took some of the pressure off, but it sounded like you really didn't think that you guys were the underdogs, as many other people did then. So I guess did it make you have any of the pressure go off, the fact that A, you thought you were the underdogs, or B, you just thought your team was good enough to take this through?
Well, I can only speak for myself. I think my belief was we were going to win because of the players that played beside me and who were really top players. And like I said to you, for Juventus to beat us, I think had to be an incredible side themselves, which they were. But on that given night, in that one night, I thought we deserved to win the game. Cala gets the first goal. I make the cross for the goal, because Otmar told me the night before, when I get it, look for the diagonal. And then Cala gets the second goal, and then Del Piero scores, and then you think, oh, hang on, this could be really close here. And then Lars Ricken scores probably one of the greatest Champions League goals in history.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. What was it going through your head when he scored his second goal there? When Lars Ricken put the second goal home and pretty much put the game to bed. What was going through your head at that moment?
When Lars Ricken scores the winner.
Yeah.
Or the third goal.
The third goal to put the tie to bed, when you kind of pretty much knew that you were going to win this.
Well, I did know we'd win it, because when Juventus took the kick-off for the you could see it in their faces. You just sensed their faces had fell, and I knew then it was finished, because I don't think they could come back. It was because all the Juventus players' faces was just like, I think they knew that was it, finished. It was over. And when Lars scored, then it was just a great feeling.
What does it mean to you to be part of the only Borussia Dortmund team in history to win the Champions League so far?
I just don't think it's even just winning the Champions League. I think it's being part of a side or a team that was incredible in that time, that period of time. The Champions League, the Champions League made it what it was, and to have won the Champions League with Dortmund is an incredible achievement. But it's been part of everything else before that. Signing for the club, playing in the Bundesliga, playing in Germany, meeting new friends, new guys, and still having an affiliation with the club to this day, which is great. So I think the Champions League, in English we say, is icing on the cake. But everything before that was just a dream. It was an absolute dream.
Was winning the Champions League with Borussia Dortmund, was that your greatest footballing achievement so far, or is there another couple that come to mind? Or
no, I think anything you win, any title you win or trophy you win, is an incredible achievement because you work hard for it. The Champions League is the pinnacle of any player in club football. Everybody wants to win it.
Yeah.
So, and regarding the size and the magnitude of it, yeah, it's the greatest thing I've done, and I've won a load of titles with Celtic and done a lot of things with the national team. But the Champions League, there's no too many things that can rival that. But as I said, it's the whole thing that happened before the Champions League win, which made my time in Dortmund unforgettable.
Yeah, and I assumed it'd probably be up there. I mean, how could it not? But when you think back to that team, and I know that you said you played with so many incredible players, but when you think back to it, is there a couple players that stand out to you? Like who's your favorite player for whatever reason it could be to play with during that team, or obviously maybe you have more than just one.
Oh dear. Well, I think if you look at the back three, we played a 3-4-1-2 system at that time. I mean, Jurgen Kohler, I've never seen a defender like that, even to this day. I always said about Jurgen, if the ball went by Jurgen, the player wouldn't, and if the player went by Jurgen, the ball wouldn't. He was that good a defender. It was incredible. Even he was the exact same in training as what he was when he played. And then Matthias Sammer was an incredible footballer, and I think really intelligent guy to play with. He played the libero, but he was so comfortable with the ball. It was great. And then Julio Cesar. Julio was incredible. Julio never broke sweat. I never seen him sweat. Julio was just always really calm. And then Martin Kree played really well when Julio was injured. So they three were really, really strong, really strong. The front three guys, Mola, Riedler, Sharpie, every one of them had goals in them. Every one of them. But it's a really difficult question to say who I thought was. I think I would be doing everybody a disservice because everybody that I played with. Andy Muller was an incredible player to play with. Michael Zorc was a great guy to play with, the captain of the club. It was great. Heinrich, Sosa. It's a really difficult question because they were that good. Yeah. They were that good. Yeah, very good.
And I figured you probably were going to say the majority of the players because it was such a fantastic team, and you guys obviously had such cohesion during that run. But it was cool to hear you kind of say a little bit about each one there and give us those of who didn't grow up watching that team a little background about some of those players. So that's pretty special. But I have another question about pretty much your last game. So I want to hear you kind of talk about your last match with Borussia Dortmund and what it was like, because I saw a clip there of you going around the stadium and kind of what it meant to you and the reception you got from the supporters.
That was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in football. That was it was so emotional that I never expected that at all. But I remember I think the club had told the fans the night before I was leaving, and I wasn't sure what to expect at that time. And it was probably the hardest decision I've ever had to make in football. Was to come back home, and I remember playing Parma. That and the stadium was like it as the atmosphere was incredible, and Parma had a really good side: Buffon, Cannavaro, Benarivo, Dino Baggio, I think Zola might have played. Tino Spear might have played. They had a really, really good side.
Yeah.
And we got a penalty. And Andy Muller was hitting the penalty, but all of a sudden I heard the crowd singing my name. And I went, they're maybe asking me to take this penalty. And I was, Andy was always the kind of penalty taker. And then with about 10 minutes to go, I just heard the stadium, Paul Lambert, and it never stopped. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. And then the final whistle went, and then I done the lap of honour, and nobody left. Nobody left the stadium, and I thought, and I seen the banners, thanks Paul, and for everything, and at that time I thought, what am I doing? This is incredible here. But I goes back into the dressing room, and then somebody told me you have to go back out because nobody's leaving the stadium. So I remember going out with a big Dortmund jacket on, and I stood in front of the yellow wall, and they sang "Walk On," and it was so emotional. It was incredible. And you know, the funny thing was, when I came back to Glasgow for about 2 months, I played terrible with Celtic. I really played because the emotion was still in Dortmund. I couldn't get it out of my head. I wasn't playing good. I wasn't focused. Everything was going on in my head. What was going on? But I had the reasons to come home because my son wasn't keeping too good at that time, and then all of a sudden time healed. But I went back to the training ground, which was really right next to the stadium, and I went back to the training ground that night, and there was people crying at my car, and they put banners over my car. Thanks for everything, Paul. And it was terrible, but in a good way, because the emotion of that, I never ever expected that, and it was. I remember standing in the 18-yard box with a tear in my eye when they were singing, but the emotion of that was a tough one to take. And yeah, and when I saw the clip myself, I've not seen that for many a year. It brings back every memory that you have of it, but I never expected that send off. It was just incredible.
Yeah, taking a look at that video there and you doing that lap, it looked incredible. It looked like there was a real connection between you and the club, and it clearly shows that after just that short amount of time you had at Dortmund, but such an impactful time kept you to this day still tied to this wonderful club. So yeah, I mean, you could tell by watching it that you had something special there with the fans, and you still do.
Yeah, I think it was I think they took to me because of the hard work. I was always hard work, running and tackling and fighting for everything really. And I think the Dortmund people live their lives that way as well. It's a hard working area. It's everybody wants to see everybody working. I don't think they want people to play for Dortmund if you're not going to put hard work in. And I think that's why they took to me, that I always never really missed a game, always fighting for everything. And I think that's why that I had the connection with them, because I could relate, coming from Glasgow in a hard area where we're the same, the Scottish people are the same, we have to fight for everything. And I think that's why myself and probably Borussia Dortmund was like a hand in a glove really. It was perfect.
So what did I guess, cause you said your first little spell back at Celtic wasn't obviously an easy transition, but what overall to your game, what did playing for Borussia Dortmund, playing abroad, bring to your game as a player throughout the rest of your playing career?
That changed my life. This didn't change my game. It changed my life. You become incredibly confident. You become really humble. I made so many friends, so many new friends. I'd won the biggest honour in club football with them, but it didn't just change my game. It changed me as a person. It changed me as my life really, and it's all thanks to Borussia Dortmund. What actually happened to my career after that, when I was growing up, I have so many people to thank when I was young. but that move to Dortmund and playing every single week and winning every single week and winning the trophy, it just put you on another level as a person. As I said, not just the football, but as a person, and your stature became really big. And even when I played against, didn't matter who I played against, I always thought I would win. And I was never fazed by playing against. I mean, I played against really, really top number 10s. Zidane, Hadji, Thomas Hassler, all great players. But I never ever felt any fazed or inferior. And I guess that was all due to being part of that Dortmund era.
That's incredible. It's incredible to hear. And I guess I was looking for, since you're a Scottish international and you're obviously from Scotland, like Borussia Dortmund means a lot to you. I was wondering what your take was on maybe seeing young Scottish players making that jump over the Bundesliga, and if that's something that you would recommend and any advice you would give to some young Scots out there, as we see, like we were talking about, young North Americans, young Englishmen going there. Is it a right move for a young Scottish player to make that leap to the Bundesliga?
That's another good question. And I've been asked that loads of times. And the answer I always give is, I moved to an incredible club with incredible players, incredible manager, incredible supporters at the right time. I think you can go and it can be the wrong club at the wrong time, the wrong players and the wrong manager.
Yeah.
You need luck as well. You need a lot of luck in your career. I fell into a club where everything, the team was great, the players were great, the fans were great, the manager, the assistant manager was great, everything fitted perfectly. So I can only speak from my move was perfect. I think if you're moving and if it is a Scottish player or a British player, I think you have to hit the right club at the right time, in the right moment. And I know Dortmund have Sancho and Bellingham. They're two young guys. They're at Borussia Dortmund, albeit there's no crowd, which is incredible, which is a nice thing. And once, especially Bellingham, because I don't think he saw the crowd yet, has he? I don't think he's played in front of the Dortmund fans yet. Sancho knows what it's like, so he understands it. Bellingham, I think, is going to be a really good player. I think they're two really good young players. And their stature fits the club at the minute. They fit the club at the minute. And I think that's a great thing for them.
Yep. And I totally agree. I mean, it's all about sort of luck as well as timing, because timing's a huge thing. You see a lot of players who are very promising, making a jump to a club and not really fitting, and everyone's kind of wondering why. And then you see someone like Jadon Sancho and like yourself who makes that jump, and you didn't really know what to exactly expect from this player, and then you see them break through, and it's like you said, it's all about timing. So I totally agree with that. I thought it'd be a cool little connection, seeing the Bundesliga kind of grow around that and being able to bring in some of these players, and you see a lot of success coming from it.
Well, there's more and more British type players going over to the Bundesliga, and there's big clubs in the Bundesliga. But I still look at it, and maybe I have yellow and black glasses on. I still think Borussia Dortmund is a special place, and if anybody's lucky enough to play there and play in front of that crowd, then you'll realise what I'm saying. It's not until you go there and you think, wow, this is an incredible club.
Yep, absolutely agree. Get the glasses on, take your bathroom break, go on that yellow wall, and it'll change your life. I'm telling you that.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
So you obviously won the Champions League. We just discussed it, and it's the biggest club award you could win. But you also won another very impressive award, and that was the Scottish Footballer Hall of Fame. Or you were inducted into the Scottish Footballer Hall of Fame. I just wanted to get a little background onto that and what that accomplishment meant to you.
Again, would I have played for the national team if I hadn't signed for Dortmund? Probably not. Dortmund gave me that opportunity as well to play with the national team. Getting inducted to the Hall of Fame, or the Scottish Football Hall of Fame, is an incredible honour, because there's incredible players in there in that scenario, and it was a really, really proud moment to get voted in, as what it was at Celtic's Hall of Fame as well. Was an incredible honour because the great players that's played for Celtic and the great players that's played for the national team, and we were part of a national team that qualified for the World Cup in 1998, which was a great occasion. But getting voted into nobody can ever take that away from you. That's the great thing about it. Nobody can ever take it away and say, okay, never really done too well for the national team, but to be inducted into the Hall of Fame that was a great honour.
Who is and this is an off-topic kind of question I just kind of thought about. Who's the biggest character you've ever played with for the Scottish national team?
There was many. There was the in 1998, 97, we had a really strong team. The national team had a strong team. I remember going to Germany in a friendly. We beat them 1-0 in Bremen in a friendly. So we had a really strong. I think that was part of the great time with Scotland. Is the characters were all really big characters. Everybody played with many big clubs in England and Scotland, so everybody knew what was at stake, and with a really good team spirit. We had, I think we probably had a club team spirit with the national team, which made us really strong. Probably not the greatest technical team or anything like that, but we had a big spirit and a big desire, and people like Ali McCoist or Gary McAllister and Jim Leighton and Andy Gorham. We had some really top players. The Scottish lads that I played with at Celtic, Craig Burley, Jackie McNamara, all really good players. But we had a big spirit, which certainly helped us qualify.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible. I wasn't sure exactly which players you were going to go through, but a couple of the ones on that list, I was assuming you were going to talk about. Yeah, that was a very, very talented Scottish team, and I just wanted to see what your thoughts were on the current Scotland squad, as there's been a big drought going on in Scotland for getting to one of the finals, and obviously them qualifying in very, very dramatic circumstances, getting to the Euros. What does that feel like for you to watch that on and see your national side do that?
Well, we needed it. As a country, we needed it because, as I think it's 23 years or so, 23 years I think this summer was the last major tournament we qualified. So a big compliment for the guys to do it, because I think our country needs it. There's a lot of, as you probably know as well, there's a lot of depression in the world at the minute with the pandemic and COVID, and our national team have done great, and I'm hoping that the fans can get back in the summer, because our national team plays England at Wembley, and that's going to be a crazy game, which would be great. They have 2 games in Glasgow, and I'm hoping that the fans turn up, but not just for the fans, but for the city of Glasgow, Edinburgh, Aberdeen, Dundee, everybody in our country, because everybody will watch it, the guys playing. So I think they've done great, because there's been a lot of criticism for 20 odd years because we haven't qualified, but now they've done it. So really pleased that they've qualified for the Euros. It's really good.
Perfect. And I assume that you'd probably be pretty excited. But now let's kind of get into the third kind of topic we're looking to get here on your career, and that is your managerial career. So I guess the easiest question to ask you is what made you want to get into becoming a manager?
It's totally different from playing.
I can imagine.
You have the weight of the world on your shoulders in certain times. It's a crazy job, as everybody knows, and it's getting more and more difficult because the way it is. And I started my managerial career in 2005, and I just left my last job there 2 weeks ago. So I've been doing it for best part of 15, 16 years, which is a long time in management. There's a lot of stress, a lot of crazy moments, a lot of good moments, and I've had some really good moments, ups and downs. But I've enjoyed it. It's been a good journey.
What's your greatest memory for your coaching career so far? Anything that comes to mind? Any specific game? Any anything like that? What's the biggest thing when you look back onto the last 16 years of your coaching career that pops out to you?
I think, do you know what? I think there's a lot when you go to different clubs. You meet, as I said before, you meet friends, you meet good people. You work with players that are different. Some are maybe players a little bit crazy. Some guys are really good. Some guys are really quiet. Some guys are a lot of fun. You meet so many different personalities when you become a manager, and it's about trying to build probably relationships with a lot of guys, and you can never get too close to people because you're never management now. You're never really long at a club to build those long-term relationships. So, but while you're there, you try and do your very best for the club you're at. There's been some great moments. We went to Anfield. The Wolves was an incredible moment. We beat Liverpool. Jurgen was the manager at Liverpool. We beat Jurgen. We beat Liverpool 2-1 with Wolves at Anfield, which was an incredible time. We beat Manchester City when I was at Aston Villa. It was a really good moment. Aston Villa, we beat Arsenal at the Emirates, so beat Chelsea at Villa. So Norwich was a great time. Had a good time at Ipswich. Stoke was great. I love my time at Stoke. There's been so many good moments as a manager, but one thing's for sure, you will leave a club at one time, and that's the difficult of it. Whereas if you're a footballer, you don't really have the sort of problems with it. So it's certainly different. Management is certainly totally different from playing.
What would you say the biggest difference of managing in Scotland would be to managing in England?
I don't think there'll be too much difference, as in
No.
The difference will be the standard of football. That's the biggest difference because, okay, we have Celtic and Rangers in Scotland, which are two huge football clubs, massive clubs. England's got bigger league, more finances, more television, more finances come into the clubs. So Scotland's up against that because the league isn't as strong. But in Rangers and Celtic, they've got two huge clubs. They're worldwide football clubs. I mean, the two clubs are huge. But the Premiership is a strong league, really strong because of finances and the different type of nationalities that are there.
Yeah, no, and that's what I thought. I didn't know if sometimes when it comes to any league really in England, you have the kind of crowd, the tenseness of some of the matches. I didn't know if that kind of came into any type of effect, just knowing if you're in a relegation battle or if you're in a promotion battle and you drop some of those valuable points, if it came back down on you. But clearly, I bet you it does.
Oh yeah, no, it does. I think management-wise, it doesn't matter what league you're in or what level it's in. You just said it there. If you're not getting the results, you know what's going to come.
Yeah.
You know what's happening. It's like a marriage and a divorce, as they say.
Yeah.
When you go in a club, everything's great. When things come to an end, it's no so good. So it's a totally different. It's a different game from being a player. Being a player is a lot easier.
Yeah, I can imagine. You coached in Scotland. You played in Scotland.
Yeah.
You also went to coach in England, which, I mean, like we said, was relatively the same as Scotland. But you also played in Germany. Would you ever manage in Germany?
I'd love to. You'd love to get the opportunity to try it because I think it's a country where the biggest thing I found in Germany was that the crowds were incredible. The atmospheres at the grounds was incredible. I mean, I remember going to watch. As I said, I went to watch Dortmund, and it was like a day out for everybody. They start in the morning. They have breakfast in the morning. You can go to the city centre in Dortmund, and it starts in the morning, 9 o'clock, right through to the game, right after the game. It's like a day out for everybody, and I just found the atmospheres in Germany absolutely fantastic to play in front of. The crowd were vocal. They were non-stop singing, and you know you're young enough to know now that you get people orchestrating the yellow wall. You have people standing facing the yellow wall and getting everybody going. I just found the atmospheres an incredible thing. And would I like to try it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. At one stage, yeah, I'd love to. Just because of the atmospheres, I think are incredible.
Yeah, there's some pretty incredible stadiums all throughout Germany with very passionate
Yeah.
fans. I mean, there's passionate fans obviously all over the world, but there is something special going on in Germany with the support there. And you were
Yeah.
obviously a part of one of the biggest stadiums when it comes to fan support. So
Yeah, yeah. So I know what it's like. So it's a great. I mean, I've been to games all over Germany to watch certain. If I'm in parts of Germany, or if I'm lucky enough to be there on a Saturday and I'm not in Dortmund or I'm somewhere else, it's just good to go and watch a game, and just because the atmospheres make it really special.
yeah, absolutely. So let's get into the final little section here on our interview, Paul, and that is the current Borussia Dortmund squad. And I just kind of wanted to hear what your thoughts are on the current Borussia Dortmund squad as they sit right now.
I think there's some really talented young players, really good. They probably need a little bit more experience to help them, and I think Vic Show's been a big loss. I think the injury to him has been a big loss to him. Haaland is an incredible centre forward.
Mm-hmm.
Marco Reus, I think, really talented player. Sancho, Bellingham, Reina, I think they're all good, really good players. Hummels does a great job for them in defence, but it's bridging that gap between Dortmund and Bayern.
Yeah.
Bayern always seem to have that strong edge at this moment. Hopefully that changes, but I think potentially it's an exciting young team.
Yeah.
But they need time to develop in that moment. Bayern Munich are experienced. They have some really top young players as well, but they seem to have a little bit more experience in the big games. Even when they played Dortmund, I mean Dortmund 2 weeks ago were 2-0 winning, and then lose 4-2. I think it's just trying to manage the guys, but potentially you have young players there. It's dynamic, and I think that goes with the fans. They have a certain style of play. They have a certain way of playing. They're dynamic. They're aggressive with everything. So, and they make it exciting. They might not win everything, but they make it exciting. But I think there's got to be a point where the club hopefully wins something, whether it's a German Cup or the Bundesliga. Because I think that if they guys can lift a trophy, the Dortmund lads, then the party in Dortmund goes. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I've seen the streets filled with yellow and black. It's a great occasion. If they current guys can win a trophy, I think it would be great. I think hopefully, whether it's this year or next year, they can stop Bayern winning that title.
Yep, and you saw some of that after they knocked out Sevilla, and after they knocked out Schalke from the last derby. There we weren't allowed to really do it, but they were out on the streets partying anyways, and it was quite the scenes that you saw there from very passionate fans.
Incredible. I mean, when we won the Champions League, and we flew back to Dortmund, wow. I'd never experienced that before. I'd never experienced 500,000 people in the street watching you parading, and it's just a special place. But when you have success there, I mean, it's an incredible place. There's no better place. It's incredible.
I can't agree with you more. But as we were talking about some of your beautiful moments in the Champions League, the season hasn't been the easiest going season for Borussia Dortmund, but their Champions League campaign has been a lot of fun to watch. Yeah. Do you see any similarities between your guys' Champions League run, where you guys won the championship, compared to this one that you are currently watching?
I mean, I can only. It's very difficult to compare eras.
Yeah, true.
The 90s to the 2000s, and it's a dead. I never like comparing the team that I played with the team now, because it's totally different. The team that I played with, we were really strong mentally. We were really physical when we had to be. We had a lot of players who had won things also, whether it was the World Cup or Euro 96 or Bundesliga titles or Serie A titles. A lot of the guys had won a lot of things, and I think that's maybe what we've had over the current group, there's maybe no too many of them have won things at a really high level, and it's getting that experience of winning things at the highest level. Our campaign was tough. We had to go to Madrid, Atletico Madrid. We played Auxerre, really difficult team. We played Manchester twice, and then obviously Juve in the final. We had Stoya Bucharest was tough game. Vitesse Lodz was tough. So we had tough games, but what we had was a really strong mentality to succeed. And I think that's the only thing, the difference maybe from our team to the current team, was I played with guys who'd won a lot of things and knew how to win. This team has grown, but they've got Manchester City who are absolutely fantastic in this moment in time. And it's going to be really tough for Dortmund because they'll come up against a team that keep the ball, pass, move, pass, and they've got some world-class players there. Manchester City. Can Dortmund beat them over 2 games? Yeah, they can. And it's going to be a difficult game for Manchester City as well. But Manchester City are a good side. In this moment, they're playing really, really good. And I think they'll be one of the favourites, Man City. If Dortmund can come through this one, then they've got a super chance to try and get to the final.
Yeah, there's definitely Manchester City's on some excellent form right now, and you made a couple good points there. But what if you could go in front of the team right now and give them one piece of advice of what it was like going through these intense games and getting to a Champions League final? What one piece of advice would you tell them before their first leg match against Manchester City?
Where is the first leg? Is the first leg in Dortmund? Do you know where the
I actually can't remember.
tires?
I can't remember. I don't know if I don't know if I've seen it yet.
Is it a neutral ground?
There's been a couple different articles going around about what exactly going to happen. I honestly can't tell you off the top of my head where it's going to be because of the restrictions and this and that. But
yeah,
I don't know if anyone in the chat knows. But no, actually, right now I don't know exactly where the first leg is going to be hosted.
If Dortmund are so-called away from home, and they can get that goal, if they can get the away goal, it'll certainly help them on that side of it. Are they capable of scoring? Yeah, Dortmund are capable of scoring. That's for sure. Manchester City are capable of scoring because the type of football they play and the way Pep's got them playing is really, really top level football. My big thing would try and not have a regret against them. Don't have any regrets. Go for it. Go and try and see if you can get at them. If you give them time, they make you look really ordinary. But if you go after them, then maybe you've got a chance. But you're up against a really, really, really good side. But Haaland's speed, without a doubt, can cause them problems. Sancho can cause problems. If it's Hazard, they can cause them problems. Dortmund, because Dortmund have got good players themselves. And all it takes is that away goal. It's just that away goal can help you. And if they can get the away goal at any stage of the game, then they'll have a chance. But if they knock out Man City, then they're definitely going to be really close to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked about us scoring goals, and I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts of, I mean, we've seen Erling Haaland come to the squad and take this club by storm and put a ridiculous number of goals. How special is he? What when you look at Erling Haaland, what do you think?
Well, you see incredible potential. I mean, he's only a young guy as well. He's not really hit his peak, really.
No, not yet.
No, so he has got speed. He's just touched on it there. His goals record is way off the scale. His goals record is incredible. He's got everything in front of him. I don't think he's a finished article yet because he's still a young guy and he's got a lot to learn and still get a load of developing to do. But he is proper centre forward. I mean, he is quick. I mean, I never realised how quick he was until I watched him the other week there, and he is really quick. And if you give him a chance, he'll score without a doubt. And I think that's one of Dortmund's biggest assets is if that lad if Haaland gets a chance, he scores.
Yep.
And I just think that's that's the biggest weapon I think Dortmund have got. It's really similar to Lewandowski.
Yeah.
Every time you see Bayern, Lewandowski scores. Every time you see Dortmund, Haaland scores. It's really similar, but Lewandowski has been incredible for Bayern. But Haaland's a young player. He's young, really young, a lot to learn, but he is fantastic the way he's playing.
Yeah, his strength, his touch, his speed. He's literally the perfect package for a center forward. And at the tender age of 20, he's got a long way to go to get even better and become a world-class striker. And I'm very excited to watch him.
That's the scary thing. He's only 20,
Yeah.
and what he's doing now, he's only 20. He has got so much development. The body will change, the strength will change, the mentality here will change.
Yeah.
As long as he can win a trophy and then keep going, win again, and don't let the finances and the flash cars and the houses, don't let that be your motivation. The titles and the trophies should be good enough for him, and if he keeps that, then and he develops, he could be fantastic.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Well, Paul, we definitely appreciate you coming on here and giving us your time. I kept you for a better part of an hour, but I mean, I feel like it was worth it. It was a lot of fun talking with you and getting all those stories. But I have one final question I want to ask you before we let you go here, and it's just basically can you describe to everyone watching and everyone who's going to be watching this video as well of what your love for Borussia Dortmund is like, and what, like you said, like you had a season here and you built so many memories, but when you look at Borussia Dortmund and you think about your love, just kind of describe that to everyone watching.
Oh, it will never ever diminish what I felt for the club, and what I do think about it, and when I go and watch it again, and the memories of that will never ever diminish. That was a special part of my life. As I said to you earlier, it changed my life. That club, and I've got so much thanks to it for what it gave me. And hopefully I gave a little bit back.
Yeah.
But I just view that as my job. That was my job, was to go and try and help that way. I fell into a team that I've said to you was a world-class team. Guys were fantastic. The dressing room was great. But I'll never ever stop looking how the results get on or how they perform. I love the club because what it is and what it stands for. And there's a really similarity between Glasgow and Dortmund, where it's hard working. It's the people are humble. Everybody wants hard work, but to play in front of that crowd, and I'll take that to when I die, is when I stood in front of that yellow wall and had the tear in my eye. That's when I knew that it was a special place, and that will never ever diminish. And it was a club that will always be thankful for what it gave me.
That's fantastic, Paul. Man, it's an absolute honor to talk to you today and hear your wonderful stories about this amazing club. And every time, I mean, I never played in front of them. I'm not a professional, but I went to the stadium live and kind of explained what it meant to me and being a part of this club and what this club can change your life. I mean, it changed my life. I didn't have quite a life quite like yours. Being a professional wasn't good enough, but I had a very fun life in a different aspect. And this club definitely means the absolute world to me. And it's incredible to see the way that it rubbed off on you and how you're still related to the club to this day.
Yeah, no, it's honestly great, and we still do the Legends thing at certain times, which is a great load of fun. And seeing guys that I played with years ago and guys that I've met, so there's a lot of affection there, and hopefully one day we will go back and watch another game, because you're right what you're saying, it's a special club, and you're obviously, I think you said you were one when I played there. You're 1 year old.
Yeah.
yeah. So. And you're the future of the club. You guys and women and girls are future of the club. It's so important. But you're supporting an incredible club.
Yeah, but maybe one day once COVID's finally over, we can head there, get our glasses on, pretend I'm not sitting with Paul Lambert and watch a game in the yellow wall. So be there for 90 minutes.
Just go to the toilet before you go in. You'll be fine.
Hit the loo and we're laughing. It's fine. But awesome. All right, Paul. Thank you so much. It means the absolute world to be able to interview and hear your stories about Borussia Dortmund. So it's absolutely fantastic, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Great. Take care.
Take care, Paul.
See you. Bye-bye.